Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here.
How are you doing this week, sir?
I am doing all right.
That's good to hear. Hopefully, everyone had an enjoyable Valentine's Day. I know it was definitely a wild one this year, but we are here to continue on our mainstream or bust roulette, where we spin the wheel and let fate decide whether it's going to be a mainstream film or a public domain horror film. And luckily, this time around, we got a mainstream because last week we were dealing with evil deers. This time we're dealing with dinosaurs. Um, and every now and then, you just need a good dinosaur movie. They come around not so often. It's been a while, but we'll get into it. Um, but yeah, this week our choice was Primitive War, and honestly, there's not really much else to get into, so we might as well just get into our review. So, Primitive War is about it takes place in Vietnam, 1968, and we are introduced to our lead Baker, and he is the squad leader for the RT Vulture, and he, along with his men, are called into action by their sergeant, played by Jeremy Piven, and they want basically there's Green Berets on this island that was sent earlier, and he needs them to go and figure out what happened to them and find them. And once there, we're introduced to his squadron. We have Leon, who's the new guy. We have Keys, who's sort of the lovable asshole in a sense. And then we have Logan, he's slowly going through PTSD, and he's sort of having a psychotic meltdown and break where he's hearing voices and it's telling him to do things. He has no control of it. We have Eli, which, again, a lot of the later characters, not really much of a personality. So Eli, Miller, and Xavier, um, they're part of the group as well, and they're not, again, they don't have much of a backstory or a presence as the other characters in the film. And so the touchdown on the island or the jungle or wherever they're supposed to go in Vietnam, and they're searching for the missing Green Berets. And once there, honestly, they kind of get off to the races. Like, it's like 25-30 minutes, and they're starting to get attacked by dinosaurs. And it's not, your typical dinosaurs. They're the Deinonychus dinosaurs. So it's not like raptors, but I mean, it is technically a raptor, but they're not your mainstay, prototypical dinosaurs. They're the feather. They go around calling him like you turkey, motherfucker, stuff like that. Um, they're the feathered dinosaurs, which is honestly kind of, a good reprieve from the mainstream dinosaurs. You don't see that often. And so they're fighting off, the dinosaurs. They come across the T-Rex. These get split up towards the middle portion of the film, where Baker and Leon, they come across Sophia, who is a Russian scientist, and she is part of a secret group that kind of broke off and wasn't having it with, because Borodin, who is the Russian leader, basically created this super collider, and that brought the dinosaurs back to existence because of a dimensional plane with the super collider. And then we have, of course, Keys, Logan, and Eli, and the other ones just doing off their own thing, where they come across, again, more dinosaurs, and they come across another Russian group that's hired by Borodin to find a bunch of stuff. Don't really want to get into too much specifics. And then they all converge and they all come together, running and getting chased, getting attacked, and just trying to survive the island while trying to get off the island um, as well. And that's basically the gist of Primitive War. And overall, I dug it. Um, I kind of have a soft spot. Again, I have a soft spot for a lot of stuff, but I do like people in a place getting attacked by dinosaurs. Um, as I mentioned earlier, every now and then you need a good dinosaur attack movie, and they don't come around very often. The last one was 65, which was a couple years back with Adam Driver, which wasn't the greatest, but it served its purpose. But this one's more so in line to what basically gets churned out on the norm with just a common, low budget, terrible CGI looking um, films that get churned out on. Of course, now it's Tubi. It gets churned out on Tubi, but like at back in the day, this was like shelf filler at Walmart. It was like Jurassic Attack, Jurassic Island, Kingdom of the Dinosaurs. All those type of just like low budget, bad, poorly made schlock. With the CGI effects that looked like it was from a Dell computer from 1992. It's just like terrible, terrible looking dinosaurs. They didn't even budge on the upgrade budget on those, where it's just like they're just using the same thing over and over. Um, but this one is like, again, it's a step up from that. I mean, it's like every now and then you have like where it's like it felt like an asylum movie, but just like a higher budget. It's like when the Rampage film came out with The Rock, and like how it just felt like this is just like one of those Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus or Mega Gator or anything like that. But just like ramped up with a higher budget, and it's like sometimes it just slips through the cracks, and I like seeing that sometimes. Again, I didn't mind Rampage with The Rock. It was kind of what you wanted out of it. And it's like the same thing with this one. It doesn't break the norm, but it's fun. It has just what you want. It delivers. It has soldiers fighting off against dinosaurs. And it's just like, again, there's a lot of, honestly, like how we mentioned Jurassic Park last week, there's a lot of nods to Jurassic Park this week with the brontosauruses and uh, again the sort of the raptor scenes, the Tyrannosaurus Rex scenes, the last act of the film, honestly, it looked like it came out of the Lost World Jurassic Park 2 when the dinosaurs came on the island and started doing a rampage. Um, so it's like a lot of stuff you've seen, again, been there, done that before, but sometimes it's what you just need. You just need a stupid, I wouldn't say stupid, but you just need a fun popcorn flick to turn your mind off. I will say that it is a little bit long. And again, they do good for the most part, keeping it flowing well. But it's still like some parts could have been, again, trimmed down here and there. Um, but it wasn't, again, too excessive where it just like it was just too overdrawn or anything like that. It's like, okay, it gets to the point where like, okay, but there again, there's a lot of character development, especially with Logan and his voices and how he's dealing with that and trying to cope with it. And him and Keys have a good relationship where like Keys trying to keep him in line so he doesn't have his psychotic break. And there's a lot of stuff that happens between their characters. Baker, the lead, he does good for just trying to corral his men and keep them in line, um, trying to make the best out of the situation, and just try to survive and keep everyone in check. But like again, the later ones like Eli and Xavier, they're just kind of there for whatever reason. You'd think those characters would be killed off early, but they're kind of not, which is kind of unusual. But I guess it's the way it is for this one. Like I said, like the more thought out characters with a lot of development, they're the ones that get attacked and killed off early, which is kind of a shame because I did kind of enjoy those characters. Um, Sophia, the Russian, she she has a she has her problems as well where she's like addicted, and she does like um, I don't know if it was heroin, but she did some kind of drug where she injected herself, where she's been on the island for I don't know how long. I think it was like a year or something, but she's been there for some and trying to fend off and survive. And basically, the only thing she has is drugs. And of course, Borden, who comes in towards the very last act of the film when all hell breaks loose with the dinosaurs and the war going back and forth with the Russian troops and the Americans and the dinosaurs. So that again, it has a good finale. I think it has a pretty solid finale, and I think it's again better than a lot of the recent Jurassic Park or Jurassic World films. Um, I wasn't the biggest fan of Dominion. Rebirth was kind of okay, but like this one, like it was pretty solid throughout. It again still a little lengthy, but I like the characters. It was a little again by the numbers. You're like, oh, this is gonna happen. He's gonna do this to save that person. So it kind of checks all the boxes. But it's not too bad if you watch a lot of again if you watch a lot of the lower budget dinosaur movies like I've seen. Like Jurassic City, um, all the other ones I mentioned earlier. Galaxy, what is it? Jurassic Galaxy. Where it's just like the same thing done over and over where people are on an island and oh, there's dinosaurs. And it's the same thing with this one, but again, it's a higher budget, um, more mainstream, and the dinosaurs look good, and they don't look cheap looking. There's a few instances where it kind of looks a little, like when all the Deinonychuses are coming through the um one of the doors, and you can just like see them in the background, like, oh, that's a little rough. And then there's like a wide shot with like Triceratops and the Spinosaurus and all those on like not the beach, but like the ocean coming through there. So there's a few little shots like that that kind of don't look the best. But I think the T Rex stuff, um, some of the early Deinonychus scenes are good. The Spinosaurus attack scenes, like when it's dark, they do a good job. Like the very first scene where you see the Deinonychus coming up from the shrubs and like attacking the Russian, just attacking his head and pulling him through. That was a good scene. There's some decent bloodshed and practical gore. There's one where like the guy's getting his intestines pulled out, and just like that's a good scene. There's actually a decapitation as well. So there's some good moments throughout. I just do think it's a little lengthy. It's like 2 hours and 8 minutes. Because they do make you there's like insertions during the credits where you're watching stuff happening. Don't want to give that away yet. So it's like 2 hours and eight. Again, it's not too bad comparatively speaking, but it could have been sort of trimmed down a little here and there. But like it felt like everything was there for the most part, and so I didn't really mind it too much. Um, but Ian, I'll let you give your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth.
It's funny that you brought up Rampage because that movie um, was on TV the other day. And I was like, I love this movie. But anyway, yeah, this movie, I'm not like the biggest dinosaur fan all the time. I do appreciate how they did try to do more accurate dinosaurs to, like our modern understanding of them. So, not just like copy, paste, and repeat of, like trying to be the next Jurassic Park. But I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. It was a little long, and I felt a little bit kind of like, you know, hurry up at some parts, but other than that, I mean, it was a fine movie. Uh, I thought the dinosaurs looked okay for what it was. Um, it didn't have any, a whole lot of issues with that. Um, I thought it was an interesting choice to do the Vietnam thing. Um, but I mean, like you said, like the personal struggles, with the PTSD and like his buddy constantly being like, as soon as we get a chance, you better go get that shit checked out because I can get dangerous, and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay, I mean, like you really do get a sense, like feel for these characters, even though there's quite a lot of them. There's quite a lot of characters to keep track of, but they did try to make sure that we got to know at least a little bit about each one, or at least all of them, major important ones. And I thought that was kind of nice that they actually like took the time, because we've watched a couple of movies where it's just like, we know nothing about these people and you have not given us time or reasons to care about them. So their deaths mean nothing. Well, this one I felt kind of like the deaths, you know, actually kind of hit where it needed to hit.
Yeah. They even try to throw one in there last minute too, where like again you don't really get too much of one character. Um, I don't want to give it away because it's still relatively new, but like again, like you don't really get much of his reasoning, and then they toss a reasoning in there for the last minute when he's like setting up the bombs, and so like okay, so that's happening now. So it's just like again they try to throw these, but like the other two, like there's just like they're bland. There's like no reason for them, and like you would think those would be the ones that killed off early, but they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, like also, I don't mean butt in, but like I also like how like the dinosaurs are actually a threat. They're always a constant threat, and like no matter how much like they try, they're just like it got to the point where they couldn't overcome the dinosaurs, and because the numbers outweighed them. So
Yeah.
I like that aspect as well, because usually they just like again with like a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, they just run and like, oh, dinosaur threat's over. Like this one was just like they were bombarded and it was constant, unless it was like too big of an obstacle, like the last couple of Jurassic World films, where it's like, oh, this is a super genetically enhanced dinosaur, and like you can't do anything about it, and like, and then they do something about it, like just get in a boat and leave, like they just kind of forget about it. Like this one's like there's a point in the reasoning for like, okay, we need to, they're just like, yeah, we don't need to stick around. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Especially once the T-Rexes show up.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoyed about that film, was that it did try to make the dinosaurs like just like something that you're supposed to constantly worry about. And they weren't shy about like,
Yeah.
you know, just throwing, like it was just like a boom, not like a, oh, we're going to slowly do this. No, it was like a in your face as soon as they step foot.
Yeah.
And that was honestly kind of nice, because I was getting kind of tired of the constant like dinosaurs just slowly like, I'm like, no, dinosaurs probably would be immediate.
Yeah.
Like,
And just like as soon as they get on the island, they're attacked and drug away. And then
yeah.
they end up survive that. And like, oh shit, we're in deep, we're in hell, literally fighting off these dinosaurs. And then again,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, the constant threat. and like especially that the the siege scene where they're in the bunker and they're just like trying to shoot them from outside the windows and or the holes in the wall, and like they're fending them off, and like their heads are coming through there, and then they like bust through the front door, and then like, oh, let's bust, like barricade ourselves here, and then they come in from the top and the glass, and they're just like constant, just like that ever looming, just like we're not safe no matter no second in the minute, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that was. I mean, there's, but for a movie like this, I mean, it was a really straightforward film. I felt like, because it was just like a, hey, let's get to this island, let's see what the hell's going on, and leave. And they did. They fought dinosaurs, and the ending happened. So,
Again,
but you
besides
know,
the, I don't mean to cut you off, but
oh,
besides the like the last act, I mean, like the very finale of it, like the conclusion, I felt was kind of a whimper to go out on that way, because it just like, oh, okay, like after everything that was happening beforehand, and the big explosions and the T-Rexes and the the
yeah,
helicopter sequence and fending them off and everything like that, and it's just like, and then you just like ended off like, oh, they're just dinosaurs. They sort of did the Jurassic World, where like the dinosaurs are on the mainland now, are integrated with the human society, sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. I mean, that, yeah, I also kind of wanted more from the ending, but it wasn't like a terrible ending. It was just
No,
like, you kind of just,
it was more
wanted it to
apathetic.
go.
Just like, yeah, it was
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. You kind of just, that's what I felt about this movie. I was like, this movie isn't terrible. It's not my favorite, but it's not terrible. But that's, better than some of the other movies we've watched.
Yeah, and like I said, for someone like myself that's watched a lot of, again, this type of film, as I mentioned, like Kingdom of the Dinosaurs is like very tit for tat, the exact same thing, where like soldiers are on an island and dinosaurs, blah blah blah, and like, again, I've seen a lot of, like Extinction. Well, Extinction's actually not too bad because they use a practical dinosaur, but like all the, you know films of the nature of just like people on an island getting attacked. What's the other? Not I was thinking Area 407, but that one's found footage, and that one doesn't have a dinosaur until the very last second. Well, the T-Rex shows up at the very final frame, but they're fighting off, like that's the one with the plane crash, and like the raptors come and start attacking them, and it's not very good. But like sometimes you just have to have, again, a big budget, just explosion field, bullets flying, just film like this that slipped, I wouldn't say slipped through the cracks, but it's nice reprieve every now and then to see something like this. Like I mentioned with 65, like it was fine with, Adam Driver getting chased around by T-Rex, but it was just, it kind of had the same central idea of like, what was that one, After Earth, but instead of Will Smith going after his son, it's, Adam Driver with a girl, that he's trying to, make sure she survives. So it's like similar in that nature, but like every now and then you just like need just a popcorn movie. And this one felt like
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah, it's just a fun, energetic, just war, dinosaurs running amok type of film. Like it's straightforward. It does manage to do some decent character development here and there. Some just fall through the cracks. Um, I mean, they could have done more with the Russian leader with Borodin. It just kind of felt like he was shoehorned in there towards the last act. He didn't seem like this crazy overzealous type of person. Like, yeah, he wanted to do more with the super collider and everything like that, but he felt like he needed to be a little bit more menacing in a sense for like his aspect. I mean, maybe that would get into like the camp sort of schlock type of fare, where they're going for more straightforward. But it felt like they needed to do more than just like relegate him to the last 20 or so minutes of the film if he's like the big baddie of the movie. And of course, he kind of got taken out sort of like a wimp as well. But it is what it is. I mean, it's not technically that. It's just, you know, dinosaurs in a sense,
Yeah.
running amok. But again, I didn't mind it. Again, I've seen a lot of films like this, so it's like, junk food to me. Where it's just like, yeah, I can enjoy that, even though some of the other ones are pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. Some of those ones that's the jagged edge or stuff like that, there's pretty rough to get through. Like the dinosaur hotels are pretty tough to get through because they're so bad and like campy and cheesy and so straightforward. It's just like, oh, this is tongue in cheek bad, and they don't even know it. But this one, again, I had fun with it. It's straightforward. It has, again, one of those where I like, yeah, this have been fun to watch in the theater. Um, and just like all the dinosaurs, the loud noises, the explosions, like, yeah, I mean, probably on the big screen, the CGI dinosaurs probably look a little bit rougher, um, but it's neither here nor there. Um, I dug it. I mean, if you like
Yeah.
those type of films, that I mentioned before, just like the low budget, low like shoddy dinosaur movies, or like anything like Asylum, like Age of Dinosaurs, or Jurassic Dominion, stuff like that. Just like, again, just those low budget, just schlocky dinosaur movies, the Asylum turns out, or that I mentioned previously, you're probably gonna have a more enjoyable experience with this one because, again, it's better. It's dealt with more care and loving hands, I would say, than just a cash grab. Just like, oh, here's some presets on a computer. Let's go out to an open field and just run and put some bad, shoddy CGI dinosaurs behind someone. Like this one, like they're not as bad. They look pretty good, especially that one. I like the one scene with the T Rex coming off the waterfall, and like he's
Yeah.
coming down with it, and like you can see him in the background where like they're floating, and like he's trying to get his grip, and like, oh, of course you can swim. I like that aspect too. So there's some good shots as well. So it's definitely more better directed than those other ones. Um, but yeah, I dug it. I mean, if you like those films, you'll like it, enjoy it as well. Um, but yeah, there's some good blood, some good gore. It's not in your face, but again, like if you want some intestines being eaten and pulled out, um, I think there's an arm ripped off at one point too, I believe. I do remember that. I do remember the head getting decapitated. Um, but yeah, like there's some good moments, and there's again some good character developments with Keys and Logan. The other ones, again, Sophia, toss Sophia in there with her addiction problem, but the rest of them are kind of just there. There's really not much merit to them, honestly. But again, they're just, again, it's like any war movie. Some's just going to be treated more differently than others. Um, but again, like they try to. There's the female Vietnamese lady who's with the Russians, and she's helping track down the other GIs. And like, there's a little bit of backstory with her where like I was just hired to hunt people, not fight dinosaurs and stuff like that. So like, again, there's some good set pieces, like when the I forgot what they're called, but like the pterodactyl birds start coming down and attacking people. And like that was pretty good sequence. I think that's where I saw the ripped off arm, and like where they're picking people apart. Um, and that's where like the blood and the entrails are getting pulled and eaten. Especially and the last act, there's a lot of human crunching by the T Rex. So there's a lot of that. So I dug it. It's enjoyable. It's nothing amazing, but it's a fine watch.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I feel like I probably would have enjoyed this movie more had I watched it in the theaters. It's just one of those. There's some movies out there I think are just better in the theater, and I felt like this would have been one of those that would have been really fun to watch. But I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fine. It was nice to review something a little different for in a while, because it's been a while since I watched an actual dinosaur movie. So it was fun. I had fun with it, but
That's
that's about all it.
all right. I think that's going to do it for our review of Primitive War. And now comes the fun part where we get to figure out what our film is for next week. And Ian, it's that time to pull out the wheel.
Yes.
As always, we took Primitive War off, put another one in its place, and we shall see what our film for next week shall be. So, Ian,
Let's get the poster.
whenever you get things situated, give the wheel a spin. Oh, God, I knew it. I knew it. Oh, God. Well, I mentioned this to Ian. It was either going to be the first one or the last one. Ian, we got ourselves a new Louisa film.
Nope.
Oh boy.
God.
Somehow, it always manages, like Louisa. God bless her.
Right.
She has some kind of curse, like they shall review my films. But here we are with Wizard of Oz, The Dead Walk. So
She should
maybe it's a,
sponsor us by now.
she. I don't know. Again, we've mentioned this off air. I don't know how she's not managed to like leave a comment or something.
I know.
Like we did a special for over on her last year at the beginning of the year, and like we've managed to review a bunch of her projects over the years, and like somehow she's just not left a comment or not found us or something. I have no idea. Of course, she's producing and directing, but this is we were wondering like when there was going to be a brand new Louisa film. Like she hasn't done anything in a while, and so like we did last year, like her newer stuff, which was we covered, and so like man, she's kind of usually she's like churning out stuff, and like she was absent there for a while, and then I saw this and like great, that gets included. So Wizard of Oz: The Dead Walk next week. That might be our final mainstream or bust roulette. We don't know. We're kind of contemplating on extending it one more week, but we will see. But Ian, God help us,
Yeah.
with another Louisa film to end off a marathon. But as always, it's great talking with you, and I hope everything goes well on your end.
Likewise.
And I appreciate everyone for listening, allowing us to come into your homes for another week and continue on this marathon of torture. No, I'm not saying that. It's just fun. But yeah, it's gonna be a show next week because if you go back to our Louisa marathon, it was wild. So we shall see if Wizard of Oz: The Dead Walk shall knock the throne of being her best film or her worst film. We don't know, but we shall include it in the pantheon of Louisa films. So I appreciate everyone for listening, and we will see you next time here on Horror Not Oasis as we continue on our mainstreamer bust roulette.
Good night, everyone.